What's up, everybody? RBL Weekly back on the air. Another installment as we inch ever closer to the start of the 2024 season. I'm the Roast Battle League Commissioner, Pat Barker, joined as always by the host and creator of the Roast Battle, Brian Moses.
1 week away.
I know.
This is fun, man. I told you, season 2. Ready to go.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited to get in and start watching some battles, get into the standings, start the MVP race, all that kind of shit. We did our MVP preview last episode. It was very well received with the gambling odds. And by that, I mean, people were upset that they weren't ranked higher. People were upset they weren't on the list. I knew that would happen. It's part of the reason I did it. You're getting messages from people who are on the list laughing about like, oh yeah, my friend's not on the list and they're pissed off about it. I love it. I love the healthy competition.
I do too, man. This is fun. We've been doing the tournament circuit, I guess. I guess that's the big preseason now, is that every city has like a preseason tournament. We kind of, I guess, previewed that last week.
Yeah.
But I'm liking what's happening out there. I know Chicago's really ramping up. I'm seeing their behind the scenes stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to watch, some cities that are coming up, right? They're doing their preseason tournament kind of a thing. And then the California Cup we just had.
Yeah.
And that's, man, I know we can't talk about it, but
we can talk about it. Why can't we talk about it?
We can talk about it?
Well, yeah, why not?
What's up with the Bay Area? They're undefeated.
Dude, the Bay Area is kicking ass in that California Cup. It's unbelievable.
Are they better riders than Southern California?
I don't know. It's so weird because I don't think that they necessarily are.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're hungrier for sure. And San Diego.
Yeah.
This whole thing was supposed to be, all right, we're going to have 8 LA people and then, 4 San Diego, 4 Bay Area. And we went through on this podcast and you set, 2.5 joke lines on all of them. And you favored in almost every battle the LA person, which makes sense because we have way more experience. We've been doing it way longer.
I'm more familiar. You're more familiar.
Of course. Yeah. It's not an indictment of the other people's talent necessarily. It's we haven't seen as much of them. And plus, when you've done 20 battles, in theory, you should have a big advantage over somebody who's done 4. These San Diego guys are brand new. And yet, you put them on the stage in Jam in the Van, and what we've seen is the San Diego and Bay Area guys have come in, I think, wanting it a lot more.
I mean, I'll give you that too. Maybe the LA guys are a little burnt out.
Maybe.
Maybe we've seen them too much, but that crowd hasn't. I mean, it really does remind me of like an Any Given Sunday thing of just any battle, you can get knocked in the mouth. I mean, I saw Paige Wesley, out the gate, just like me, like she took a right cross to the face with a joke, and she had to get back on her feet. It's been fun to see that. It's been fun to see some of the lower seeds kind of take the higher seeds and take them to the wire. I mean, I don't think there was a bad San Diego battle for the most part, or one that couldn't have went either way, right?
Yeah, LA went 2-6 in the first round of the tournament. 6 of our 8 battlers have already been knocked out. And frankly, the 2 wins weren't exactly convincing dominant wins.
No.
They could have gone either way. They were both up for debate. So it's cool to see. And to clarify, I don't mean that the battlers are burnt out. What I mean is you start looking ahead. Maybe you look past your opponent. You know what I mean?
That's interesting.
You're like, okay, they gave me a San Diego person first round who only has 3 battles. Let me look at who I'm battling next round and start thinking ahead to that.
Not respecting your opponent.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Have you done that?
I've only been in one tournament ever, and it was at the very beginning of my run. So I had the underdog juice. You know what I mean? So I was definitely not looking ahead. I was like, I can't believe that in one tournament I get to face Omid Singh and Leah Kajanian and all these people who were I was putting on this pedestal.
Right.
So I was the San Diego guy in that situation.
Well, what about, just regularly? Have you ever, underestimated your opponent going into a battle? Look past them? No,
I'm very good at assuming my opponent is always going to come with their best performance. I seem to run into a lot of people's career best. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm always going in anticipating the person is going to put up 50 points.
Wow.
So I'm I got to put up 55. Now, that's not to say that I haven't had a couple bad battles, but it's never due to a lack of respect for my opponent, or thinking that my opponent is going to come light. I never think that.
So are you better at defense or offense then? Because you're saying like, I'm always assuming my opponent's going to score a lot.
Yeah.
So then are you just not like, are you not a rebuttal guy? You're not a defensive guy?
No. I always write tons of rebuttals. That's why. Because I'm like, if they have a haymaker of a joke, if I'm able to come back with a rebuttal that is near that level, I can neutralize it. I go into every battle, with the exception of my last one, because of a couple of factors. But every battle I go into, I usually go into with like 5 or 6 pre-planned rebuttals.
Damn.
If they call me fat, if they talk about my wife's miscarriage, if they say my dad's dead, like I have all of that shit on deck and ready to go.
Those are the top 3, by the way. If you're playing Family Feud at home of what to attack Pat Barker, those are the 3.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why, and I even mentioned this in my stand-up at Jam in the Van. I wanted to, because I do a lot of stand-up on the pre-roast battle things, and
Right.
I wanted to see if there was a way I could incorporate the roast battle into my stand-up. And I was talking about how in my last battle, I spend so much time prepping for concrete things. They're going to call me fat. They're going to say, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I battled Nate Welch, he said, "You look like Pumbaa if he was a pervert." And that's one of those where you're just like, you're standing on stage and you're going through your like Rolodex and you're like, I got nothing for that.
That's a new one. That's the Wildcat in 2004.
I look like a rapey animated warthog. And it's like, what do you even say? How do you, what do you do? Right? So that's the shit that catches me off guard.
Yeah. That would catch anybody off guard.
Yeah. And the whole crowd's laughing and you're like dealing mentally with the fact that I guess.
You do look like that.
I do look like that.
Yeah, like you do look
something I never processed.
Pumbaa like a grizzled, like undercover cop. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's tough out there.
Yeah.
Divorced my wife. Yeah. Haven't seen my kid in ages. He might be dead.
But the tournament has been really, really cool. And shout out to the Bay Area.
Really? Undefeated, comes down, doesn't get paid. It's strictly for content. Those guys are playing it for the love of the game. LA, you got to step up. You went 2-6. You guys were the big. We gave you guys twice as many people.
Well, you know what? This is perfect. This is a perfect place to start because what we're doing on today's episode is we are going to preview the 4 divisions. I'm going to put you on the spot to pick your winner for each division.
Whoa.
I've put polls on the RBL Commish Instagram account. Follow me on Instagram at RBL Commish to gauge the temperature of kind of like how everybody else feels about these divisions. And we're going to bring back the gambling because it was so popular last time and it's going to rile people up again this time. And we're going to start in the American West Division. Now, for each division, we're going to watch a battle and then we're going to bring up the odds and we're going to discuss it after the fact.
Okay.
Now, these battles are all from the off season. I've been trying to not bother the people who run the divisions. I've been trying to not say, hey, send me shit. So this is all stuff that I'm pulling off of YouTube.
Wow. Okay.
So I've been doing some of my own digging on YouTube to try to find. But to be fair, none of these people have I been like, send me your best battle. This is just shit that I've found. And to preview the American West Division, we're actually going to open with a battle from Austin. And this features 2 people that I haven't seen. And I thought it was a lot of fun. So we're going to get into this right now. This is Captain Wright. Yep, his name's Captain Wright. And he's going up against Anthony Papali. Let's check it out.
So we got Anthony, we got Captain Wright. Here we go, everybody, make some noise.
Hey. Captain looks like he draws his own hentai to beat off to when the internet goes out. Just laying on the floor drawing Sonic the Hedgehog with fat titties.
Anthony's a first-generation immigrant. He didn't tell me that, I just assumed. Yeah, he's 50% Italian, 50% Indian. What's that up to? 100% rapist?
That's good. That's good. It's accurate. Yeah. Captain, why do I feel like when you go to finger a woman, she has to check your fingers for flaming hot Cheeto dust, dude? Yeah.
And my penis. I got really excited at that. Jesus. Anthony has a film degree. Judging by the way he looks, I don't know if it's Bollywood or smut films.
Captain, my captain, dude. I can't even look at you with your fucking fetal alcohol face, but you know, Captain here looks like his idea of foreplay is just riding a tech deck between your titties while you watch Viva La Bam.
Viva La
I don't know.
Like I said, Anthony's half Italian, half Indian. His dad was Italian and his mom was Indian, which is pretty cool. But I just can't imagine what that sex sounded like. Like, hey, I'm gonna fuck your pussy! And it's like, oh my god, that big Indian penis is inside of me. I want you to fuck me, Mr. Papali. Please, I want your big Italian penis inside of me, please. Please, Billy. Hey, I'm gonna fuck the pussy right now. I'm so deep inside your pussy. Your pussy smells like curry. It's so good. It's so tight. It's like a rolled up carpet. It's so good. It's so good. It's so your pussy's so pretty. I think I'm in love with you, Mr. Papali. I'm 12 years old.
I do not like this joke, okay?
Thank you, Anthony.
Hey, 20 on pump 4, please.
Captain's just mad because I got his mom to buy a bunch of Best Buy gift cards and send over to me. Whatever. But you know, I make fun of Captain a lot, you know, but you know, he's a very romantic boy, you know. Like ladies, when you're done fucking on his race car bed, he'll wipe you down with some Chick-fil-A napkins and serve you Totino's pizza rolls on a paper plate. Very romantic.
Too real, buddy, too real. Anthony told me he's never met either of his grandfathers. Yeah, probably because they're stuck inside of a fucking lamp, dude.
Racism. God damn it.
He's doing all the dance moves.
Yeah.
DJ, how have you not played any Indian music? Where's that? Ring, ding, 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 ding. Where is that?
That's not even.
You raised a snake out of a jug?
I put you on the spot. Guys, this is our last joke. Here we go. Great battle so far.
All right, here we go. Captain looks like when he jerks off, he pulls out of the sock he's using and just busts all over his chest.
I got so much acne up there. Anthony is a veteran. He served in the Coast Guard, which is pretty cool. What was your fucking job? The buoy, dude? It looked tiny. It looked like a fucking Sour Patch Kid.
Hell yeah. Hell fucking.
I'm gonna let you start, Pat, because I don't know what to say yet.
Well, I didn't want to spend too much time breaking down the battles. It was more of a vehicle to get into the odds here, but I feel like we have to, you know, I get reports from the people who run the leagues, and one of those guys is from Orlando. I don't remember which one, but they were like, yeah, the Orlando comics are coming, and they're like killer roast battlers. They're moving to Austin. It's like a weird sort of Pipeline, yeah. From Orlando to Austin, which I would not expect.
Well, Cam Patterson kind of starts it, right? And David Jolly, right?
Yes.
And there's a couple other guys. I don't want to disrespect them by like getting their names wrong or only mentioning one or two. But yeah, there is a big pipeline out there, and I've noticed Tony Wellens.
Yeah.
Right. He battled Heather Keith. He's pretty funny. I mean, there is a pipeline.
Absolutely. And I understand it like from a stand-up perspective, but it's interesting to me that they all like battle. So they're like, yeah, you got to see these like Orlando guys. And I'm like, okay. You know, and again, I wasn't like, send me footage because I'm like, I'm waiting for the season. But then I found this battle online, and It might have been Captain. That was the Orlando.
You
guy.
don't say.
The one thing that I love in Austin is seeing the influence of certain Austin comics. I feel like you see a lot of it, and we're actually going to talk about it in another battle later on. But I saw a lot of Casey Rocket, I feel like, in his sort of stage presence and persona and style.
Right. There is a Casey Rocket confidence, I think, happening within that scene, because Casey is just such an influential, and he's so intoxicating, which is his style, but he's really good at it, right? Not everybody can do the Casey Rocket, you know?
Yeah.
But the confidence, I think, people are kind of just trying to take that and try to put it into their own, spin it into their own, I guess, style. You know
Which
what I mean?
isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Not at all.
What I find with the roast battles is, like, so often the shit that hits crazy in the room, unless it is what translates is the joke writing.
Correct.
Will always translate. It'll always play better on video. Like, that whole thing, the act out of, like, his dad fucking his mom, the Italian and Indian thing, we were both sitting here like, what is happening? And when it ended, he got like a standing ovation. That
part, I think that's my problem with it. It was just like, it was fine. That's what the roast battle is. It's we make hate speech cartoonish. It felt like a huge, wild cartoon of just like, wow, yeah, this probably only plays on YouTube deep in the annals of YouTube you can't find. But no, it's right here in 2024 at Creek in the Cave in Austin. But I don't know what that accent was. It was like Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to do an Italian accent.
I thought the Italian was okay. The Indian one, I was
you didn't like that one?
Yeah, that one wasn't hitting for me. So between the two of us, you combine our brains, there's a version of that joke that works.
I like what Anthony said at the end. He's like, I just don't like that joke.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
It was
the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was like an enjoyable battle, but I think it speaks to sort of like the Austin style and like whether or not it entirely translates to video, because they have their own thing very much.
Correct.
And I think a lot of times some shit that like I'll get a text where it's like, you got to see this battle. It murdered in the room, and then you watch it on YouTube, and they're not wrong. You could see the crowd reacting. But
Captain killed that. I mean, like whatever that was, they ate it up.
Oh yeah. Those guys, they crushed.
And then Anthony had to sit there and was just like, wow, this whole crowd is kind of a bigot.
And you know what's going to happen? I'm going to watch a couple Captain battles and be like, I don't really see it. And then we'll put them on a mothership show and he'll fucking murder it in front of me, and I'll be like, oh, I get it now. Yeah. You know what I mean? In the room.
Yeah. No, he's fun. He's got a Luke Bingkow like likability about him. Captain. Yeah. I did Captain. Those names though are wild for both of them. I mean, like they should be switched.
Anthony Papa. Yeah. I could see that. Yeah. Let's talk about the American West Division. We got some odds up here right now. When we ran the Instagram poll, Los Angeles was kind of a runaway winner. I've wanted to talk shit about Los Angeles for a little bit here. I think that I saved it for the season preview, and some of the issues are starting to correct themselves. One of the main issues I thought LA had, especially compared to the Austin crowd we just saw, is that the belly room crowd has been pretty bad for months now. And it's something we've been working on fixing, and I think naturally, organically, it's starting to come around. I feel like the last few weeks, the crowd has been much better, the energy in there, but there was a down period.
The comments have been crushing our crowd, but yeah, these next few episodes, I think you guys are going to see like, oh, okay, LA's cool, and the talent's back.
Starting to come back. We talked about LA sort of bombing in the California Cup a little bit.
2-6.
But I do feel like overall, LA has certain advantages. They have a larger depth than a lot of cities in terms of talent. I feel like, every now and then you'll get an undercard battle that really pops. We're going back to 2 main events a week. Starting on March 5th, our first show of the regular season, and we're going to continue that through the regular season. We run weekly. There are behind-the-scenes advantages where it's just easier for me to get footage from LA than these other cities. You got to keep in mind, this boils down to like other cities still have to send in the footage, right?
Correct.
So Austin's running bi-weekly at the Creek, so I feel like that's a little bit of a disadvantage. I'll say this. I think if you took the 5 best active battlers from LA and put them up against the 5 best active battlers from Austin, I think we'd have a tough time.
It depends on where.
It does depend
It's
on
gotta
where.
be I mean, if neutral site, maybe we're saying Denver. I mean, they might split it up, you know, because I've seen LA battle Bay Area in Culver City here in Los Angeles, and you know, Bay Area is undefeated.
And that's kind of what I'm saying. You take the best 5 from any of these cities, and I think it changes a lot of things. But the length, the duration, the marathon that is an 8-month regular season, I think LA probably has a little bit of an advantage there. That's why they're plus 120. Austin plus 300. If they have their shit together, I think they could absolutely take this thing. And then Bay Area and Denver, no disrespect, I still view them as long shots, mainly based on last season's performance. I could see where the Bay Area, given the California Cup, would look at this and be like, whoa, this is massive disrespect. I understand that. But I think these are fair odds given what we've seen over the last season.
I would say there's a lot of disrespect. And LA's getting a lot of love because we do go weekly. We do get the footage easier. We do have a dearth of talent. But man, those Austin guys, their talent's top heavy. Bay Area, they got a top 4 or 5 that can compete anywhere. In Denver, I mean, like, those pins are silly and they will slice you surgically. So I don't know, man. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody in the West. That's a pool of death. That's a death pool. Those 4 cities, I'd say. And I don't know if LA is necessarily at the top of it.
Are you going to go out on a limb and make a pick?
No. I just saw the Bay Area demolished. Come down. I mean, you know, just for the content, come down and just beat down everybody that was in their path. Anybody in Southern California, they beat down. I saw Denver. I mean, we had a championship out there, and they might have had the best matches that were exhibitions, you know. And I've definitely seen Austin murk everybody. So and they talk a lot of trash. In the process of doing it, they're very Larry Bird about their shit.
Yeah, I love that.
They're like, oh, I'm going over here and I'm going to shoot it probably about 30 times this game.
Yeah.
And they'll do it, and they'll probably make it 25.
Yeah.
So I mean, I wouldn't fuck with any 3 of those cities. LA, your target is heavy on your back.
Okay, and by the way, same thing I offered last week to anybody in the comments who correctly predicts the MVP for the season. I will Venmo them $5.
That's crazy.
I'm going to do the same thing this week. If you pick all 4 division winners, $5 from me personally.
It might be LA because we have the world champ.
The world champ helps. Ryan Nesson is, and he's fired up, man. He's ready to defend his title, and he wants to get back there and do it again.
And I heard there's some guys coming out of retirement,
potentially,
to become world champs, or maybe help with those odds with LA. So I don't want to spoil it, but you'll see him hopefully this season.
Everybody wants that belt, man. Everybody,
sick. I love season 2.
Yeah, hell yeah, me too. Let's jump now into the American East Division, and I want to watch a battle from New York. New York, they're roasted Grove 34. It started as a secondary show. I think in a lot of ways it's become their primary show, and they've been uploading their battle of the week for the entirety of the offseason. There's a lot of great battles up there, but this was one I really enjoyed. A couple of familiar names that we saw a few times last season. This is Sarah Barnett against Lucas Arnold. Here it is.
All right, so Sarah, put your hands together.
Lucas Arnold bravely answers the question, what if Flat Stanley was a bottom? Now, I know Lucas is self-conscious about his body, but I just want to say, man, hey, I have an eating disorder, and I think you look perfect.
Let's make this quick. I know you got to get back to your regular job of being a Pokemon with a lot of bite-related moves. Sarah was born premature and is single, which means she's underdone in 2 ways.
Lucas, you 1890s chimney sweep looking bitch. Doesn't he seem like he would jerk off in a library but read at a strip club?
Thank you, you cunty index finger. Sarah's gone through some changes. She didn't always have bangs, but with them, can I just say, you really look like you think it made a difference.
Lucas, I don't know. God gave me this face and he gave you 3 inches on a good dick day. Shut your fucking mouth. Okay, sorry, that was a little aggressive. Lucas and I, we both had long days. You know, I came from the office and Lucas came from that guy cupping his balls while he fucked him.
Sarah hosts a show called Thirst Trap Comedy. I don't look at Sarah when I feel thirsty. I do look at her when I want to feel trapped.
Lucas is clean shaven, but I've actually seen his beard. Her name's Mary, right?
Thank you, George Santos' soul. Now, guys, there's an old joke. There's an old joke that a Jew with an erection runs into a wall and hurts his nose. If Sarah had an erect penis and walked into a wall, she'd hit her bank vault of a forehead.
Last joke.
Lucas is biracial. Yeah, his mom's a whore and his dad's dead. I'm gonna leave it there.
Here's the message Sarah sent me on Hinge last year.
Did I match? No, I don't. Did I?
Let's go.
Automatic win.
That's our boy.
Hello. Big fan of your TikTok. From one comedian to another. Nice to meet you. Great opener, bro. I'm soaking wet. Sarah's dating life is a lot like a soccer field in the rain. No match today.
Wow. I'll say this. The sheer panic that must have been going through Sarah Barnett. If I ever battled anyone, especially if I was single and it was a member of the opposite sex, and they were like, I'm about to read a DM right now. Whoo, buddy. I don't know how I would run off stage. You would never see me again. I would flee the country, get a new identity, without even knowing what they're going to say. So props to her for sitting there for that. And it ended up not being too bad. The DM was not too bad. But, man, what a scary moment.
I mean, it knocked the cool out of her, I'll tell you that. I mean, she sat down so quick. She's like, no, oh my gosh. She was like, what did I say? The fact that she was like, what could I have said to you? I mean, it was perfect. I hope Lucas Arnold really stays in the circuit this season. He's one of my favorite. He is the logic of the roast battle. Biracial, funny, smart. These guys, they have my favorite style of roast battling. They're smart, they're silly, they're vulnerable sometimes, right? They're performative. You don't always see that with everybody else. They go for the written, but New York does a thing because I think Broadway's out there. They do sometimes. If they go performative, they really nail it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
And but they're always well written, and they're always friends, and they really cut deep, man. I really appreciate that about New York. So that was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, you mentioned the biracial thing. I don't know why it works so well, but I died the first time I heard he's biracial, his mom is a whore, and his dad is dead.
Oh, Sarah Barnett. Jesus.
Yeah. And she did the smart thing. That got a huge pop. There was more to the joke, and she's just like, I'm good.
Professional.
Yeah.
Got out of there, yeah.
Absolutely. Let's look at the Eastern Division. And this was the closest poll that we ran on Instagram, neck and neck, with New York narrowly losing to Chicago. Now, this is the most clear-cut division in terms of top and bottom, in my mind. We have two of our expansion cities in there, Cleveland and Atlanta. It's obviously going to be a huge uphill climb for either of them when you have two really professional cities like New York and Chicago. I gave New York the slight edge based on the fact that they were the playoff team last year. They made the championship round of 4. Chicago was not, so they have a slight disadvantage in my mind, but really this is a toss-up. This could go either way.
I don't know. I mean, Chicago, just like just like the Bay Area, just like Austin, they're a little top heavy with their talent, right? They're looking for new stars, but because they have such a dearth of talent looking to get into the roast battle, that huge tournament they have with like 60-something people.
Yeah.
They're always finding new people to come in, and I think they had the most new battlers in the league last year, right?
They had a lot, yeah.
Yeah. But New York, man, because of that style, and those guys adapt to that style very quickly, I'll make a pick. It's New York for me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I love Chicago, but man, I mean, New York they just have that style I love, and I think it always translates very well.
Yeah. New York might have the most depth of any city. I feel like they have, front to back. They do not have, to speak to your point, a couple guys up top where it's like, okay, to use the analogy I used on the last one, if you're picking teams of 5,
right?
New York maybe wouldn't strike as much fear in me as like a top 5 in the league, but their 40th guy can battle their 50th guy and still have a really good battle. Whereas you might not get that in other cities. So I do think there's a little more depth in New York. Chicago, I think, has a couple of intangible advantages when it comes to the structure of this podcast. The fact that it is, look, I'm reviewing a lot of different videos and everything like that. And I try to not give extra advantages to like good audio and video and all that, but it happens. You watch 15 battles to prepare for a podcast, something that's like really clear and everything like that might have an advantage in that way. So
invest in your equipment, cities.
And not just for this, but also you see the success of Chicago's YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
Like they're having their own success kind of outside of the league because they invested in that stuff.
They're like their own station. They're like WGN in that, like the super station. They just have their own TV channel, their own market. They're only catering to their market.
Yeah.
They have a Patreon too. I mean, those guys are badass.
Roast battle at 6, Cubs game at 7.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, Chicago. So they do have an advantage because they're a whole TV network.
Yeah, pretty much. Cleveland and Atlanta, this is no disrespect to them, but coming into the league with these two heavyweights, I think it would be a long, long shot for either of them. I'm excited to see him go for it, though. One thing I love is that the confidence is there.
And Cleveland has an advantage because they've been doing it 8 years.
True.
And they pump out battles almost every day. I mean, those guys are they must have just a bunch of content or something. But and those guys, they know how to battle. They really know how to roast battle. So I would say Cleveland's a dark horse in there. I would say
Cleveland's been posting a lot of stuff. If you haven't already, follow at RBL Cleveland because they are posting a lot of content on there.
Absolutely.
They have a vault that they are digging into for sure, but none of that's going to help them in this season. They're going to have to compete, and they think they can, man. The excitement is high over there. They think they can make a run at this thing. To be determined. To me, it's a 2-horse race this season, New York and Chicago. And I'm excited to see
Cleveland
who comes out of that on
that
top.
Chicago style with New York, right? Because they're friends in Cleveland. Like they have their own roast battle community, so they know each other. So they have that kind of like that New York has, right? But they have that Chicago style of it's very it's punchline heavy. Just I'm trying to get to the joke, and then now it's your turn kind of a thing. So it is very Midwest, and it's all right. Volley now serve.
Well, let's talk about that real quick. You're talking about the camaraderie and the chemistry between the battlers. You've seen more roast battles than any person on earth, just
correct,
based on how long you've been doing this. Chicago is more of a UFC style, I feel like, with the tournaments and everything like that. It's structured more like a sport where it's, I feel like in a lot of ways more competitive, and you don't get necessarily that same like friendship vibe. How important do you think that is to making a good battle?
I think because they have the audio and video quality, it serves them well.
Yeah.
Right. It does feel more like a sport because of that. But when I watch New York, when I watch Cleveland, when I watch LA, right, even Austin, when we're there in Austin, like it just feels like everybody is friends, and there is that camaraderie and that chemistry. I guess it translates more for me when I watch it. I'm like, oh, that's good, because I feel like nobody got their feelings hurt, but I got to hear everything. I got to learn something about these guys.
Yeah.
With Chicago, I don't necessarily feel like I learn something all the time.
Right.
I just say like, oh, that's a really good punchline. Oh, that's a really good punchline. Like I'm seeing really good punchlines in Chicago, but I don't necessarily know those guys are friends. It just feels like they're opponents.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I will say this as the person who books the LA show, when a new battler comes to me and they're like, I want to do it, do you pair me up with somebody or should I find somebody? I always advise find somebody if you can, because I do think that battles between friends have an extra element and an extra layer of what makes them good. Which is why maybe you say New York, you could take the 40th and 50th ranked people and they could have a great battle as long as they're kind of friends already.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense actually. And we started doing that, right? We always make the anybody who's coming in say like, yeah, you have to find an opponent who's seen the show, and then we'll find you guys a date, kind of a thing, right? And I feel like there's a lot more stakes when that's the case, because then you get to learn about somebody, you get to know somebody, you guys become friends in that sense.
Right.
When it's just somebody like, all right, it's this guy over here, you may not know, then it's just surface level. You don't care if you put on a good performance, but if you have to know this person, if you invest that time, if you invest your time into that person, you're gonna want to make a good show. You're going to want to put on a good performance.
Yeah, that's the X factor for sure. And, could be the deciding factor in the American East race. That is to be determined. I'm excited to see how it plays out. Let's go international now for our last two battles of the pod. And we'll start with the International West Division. This is, in my mind, the hardest one to call, the most up for grabs. And this was a battle... I actually did the Roast Battle Barcelona podcast the other day, and we watched some of their battles. This was one we didn't get to because I talk a lot, and it took way longer than they expected. So shout out to those guys over there. And they said, hey, since we didn't get a chance to watch it on our pod, if you need it for yours, feel free. And I said, yeah, let's check it out. So this is an off-season battle between Mila Kopaeva and Ben HM. Here it is.
Here we go. It is tails. Going first or defer?
I'll go first, please.
Okay, Ben, you're going first. You guys ready?
Mila was born in a small Russian iron mining village called Kostomuksha, about an hour by car from the border with Finland, or as the locals call it, 10 hours by donkey. And strictly out of curiosity, when I found that out, I Googled a map of the Chernobyl radiation zone. I was shocked when I found out that Kostomuksha actually lies just outside of that zone. My next Google search was for whether or not they had a large amount of bees in the area.
I don't know what that means.
Hey, I'm sweet like honey, you know that. Hey guys, give it up to Ben. He's taking time away from drawing penises in the public bathroom toilet. It's very nice. So, Ben left America to become a white savior in the West Africa. And since then, he's been living in the Netherlands and in Spain, which just proves one more time that Americans are shit at geography.
After 6 full years following an economics program for her bachelor's, Mila finally dropped out, making her what some people would call a failure and what other people would call a comedian with 1,500 followers on Instagram.
Follow me, baby. Okay, guys. Ben looks like he shares his Pornhub account with his uncle, right? Actually, no, Ben, you look like 12, and this mustache looks fake. It looks like you drew this mustache with a marker so your gym teacher can take your relationship seriously.
I was actually accused like about an hour ago of having a fake mustache. That's not a joke. I want to take a pause here real quick and just ask everyone to, like, real quick in your mind, just think of, like, a couple names of, like, famous fashion designers. All right, now that you guys all have a few of those, there's a reason none of those are Russian. That's the reason. Mila looks like she walked into a ski town thrift shop with a blindfold on.
Holy shit.
Hey, I have a laundry day, okay? Ben, how do you look at the same time like a pizza delivery guy and the teenager who beats him up on the street? Hey guys, when I watch a band performing, I think about Morgan Freeman. Deep voice, low energy, and many people would wish he was dead. What's the news?
I used to hang out rather frequently with Morgan Freeman. I'll talk about this some other time. I told my Finnish friend Joni that I would be roast battling with Mila, and I told him that she managed to emigrate to Finland actually as a young woman, and he said probably just found the right border guard to sleep with, and then he asked to see a picture of her, and then he said maybe just a cash bribe.
Hey, you know what? I'm across the border, so who cares? Ben looks like a guy who would queue up in stores just to sniff women's hair.
Last joke.
One thing you probably don't know about Mila, but that you probably would have guessed, is that she's currently going through a divorce. And originally, I thought that that must have been due to the Instagram reels. But upon further review of Mila, it was just having to talk to her.
Follow me to the bar and we can have a chat, guys. Guys, Ben told me he has sex addiction, and he. And he used to work at the cemetery. Which was the perfect combo because dead cannot say no.
All right, guys.
Let's take a look at the International West.
Okay, let's get, yeah, there we go. International West. Okay, so Scotland, essentially the defending champion. We didn't have divisions last year. We just had international. They did make the playoffs as the second seed. They open at plus 175. Toronto, which has a slight advantage strategically by running bi-weekly.
Oh, that's cool.
Next up at plus 350. And then Barcelona and Montreal, long shots. Barcelona at plus 2,000. Montreal at plus 2,500. Thoughts?
Montreal has a chance to really be a sleeper, a dark horse, and ultimately, I mean, I don't know. Everything I've seen out of Montreal, for the most part, So far, I've been looking at them online. They're fun, man. I'd be scared if I'm the other 3 opponents in this division.
So, of all of the expansion cities, is it safe to say that Montreal is your pick? If you had to pick one to maybe make a run, and it's not necessarily saying that they're stronger than any other city. A lot of it is just competition. If you're Cleveland and Atlanta, you have to face off against New York and Chicago. If you're Manchester, you have to go against London, proven heavyweights. Whereas in this division, I feel like it's a little bit more wide open, and that could be reflecting in what you're saying.
I mean, I'm disrespecting Scotland. I need to stop doing that. I mean, yeah, they don't like that. I'm sorry, you guys. You guys do have a star. I mean, like, listen, Scotland and Toronto have stars, and Hershon from Toronto and Ryan over in Scotland. I guess I don't see enough Toronto battles where I'm like blown away. I don't see enough Scotland battles where I'm just like blown away, even though their style is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, Barcelona, cool. But Montreal, everything I see, I'm just like, they have that New York style, that very ball busty classic style I like. And I mean, that's just subjective. I'm just me talking. But for the most part, yeah, I'm looking at Montreal like, you guys can kind of steal this division away from Scotland. You know, if Ryan or another guy like Ryan doesn't show up.
And frankly, I would love that. Not Montreal in general, but like if we're talking about somebody making a run, one of these new cities, I would love to see that. And like, that's something that, for as much talk as the MVP odds generated where people were feeling like disrespected or whatever, the fact is the MVP next season more than likely is not one of the 20 people we put on the screen.
Correct.
We are going off of a very limited sample size of who's good at this thing. It's been one season. Exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah. We are probably going to see somebody and some city come out of fucking nowhere this year and establish it and be like, we are the city to beat. This is the new guy. If you gave me those MVP odds and simply said, you can have these 20 or the field, I'm taking the field.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you?
I fully expect to see brand new people this season that we didn't see or we saw once or twice last year step up and take it more seriously this year and really make a run at that thing. That is what I'm anticipating, and I think it could happen potentially with one of these expansion cities. For me, it's just really, really tough to put them anywhere other than the bottom because we just haven't seen it yet.
Again, that's not fair to the other guys who've been there already, obviously, and we have game film on them. And to piggyback off your point there, we didn't know who Shalaka was until last year, right?
Yep,
been doing this for, they've been doing it 7 years or something like that out in London, and that's the first time I'd ever heard or seen Shalaka corrupt, and then she creates a new style. You know what I mean? So
invented a new move.
Yeah, and then John Ajota, I mean, New York's the second longest running roast battle, and that guy came out of nowhere also. So yeah, I agree. We're gonna see somebody new, and we're gonna fall in love with them also.
If we rewound to this date 1 year ago, I did not know Shalaka Corrupt existed.
Exactly.
I didn't know. I don't think so. And a year later, it's like she's one of the 2 best battlers in the world.
In the world,
right?
That's crazy,
right?
We just did a huge thing last week talking about all the 20 best roast battlers. That's crazy because there's guys who left off the board. The fact that there's 20 people in the sport, we can be like, hey, they might win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Insane.
And you're going to have, if you did that same 20 at the end of this year, it's probably going to be 10 to 15 new names on there.
Hell yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited to get into it. I like where your thought is at with Montreal. I do think it's important that everybody put some respect on Scotland's name just because of what they did last season. And Toronto is an interesting one to me because they had such a rough time last season to the point where, come September, I was like, man, are they even like... Can they hang? Can they do this thing?
Like emotion.
I mean, you have to evaluate it, right? Like, do they have a long-term future kind of like in the league? And then they switched the night and time slot that they did the show, and the last 2 months of the season was so much stronger than the 6 months that preceded it. So I'm curious to see if Toronto can keep that momentum going and make a run at this thing. Really, I think this division is wide open and could be anybody's.
And again, they have a star in Hershon Aurora. So, I mean, Toronto, with that, when you have one superstar, I mean, like it can carry the whole city for the most part.
And they have a couple other names that it's really funny when we were looking at footage and deciding whether or not to admit them to the league. the names we saw, and this was before you were involved in the show. This was back when it was me and Sarah Keller. We watched a lot of Sarah Ashby and Mark Karakianitis, Jordan Trafford, who came down and battled.
And battled Sarah.
Yeah, battled Sarah at Jam in the Van and did great. Jordan's very, very funny. There were a handful of guys that I was like, oh, these are going to be the stars. And then the season started and they kind of like fell back and didn't battle as much. If you get those guys back in there as a, you know, like an infusion of talent, I think that Toronto could potentially make a run at this thing for sure.
Let's go, Toronto.
Yeah.
Drake's place. Holler at us, Drake. Get your city in order.
Yeah.
He loves the bet.
He does.
I would love Drake to call in and be like, yeah, I'm putting money on my city.
Drake needs to know this. Drake's a big like battle rap fan as well. Like he's big in that culture. Like get involved in the roast battle. It's the same thing except we don't rhyme. Other than that, same fucking deal.
No, early in the roast battle's existence, this is some inside information. But yeah, Drake had called in. Frank Castillo, season 2, Jeff Ross Presents Roast Battles on Paramount Plus right now. You can check it out. He was on the phone for the Comedy Store. He was working there, and Drake had called up, or Drake's people called up, said Drake was coming in that night. Frank texted me, he's like, hey, Drake's coming in. I'm like, you're kidding. This is like 2015 or 16. This is early in the roast battle. And Drake came. But he came early. Like, you know, this is back when we were still doing it at midnight.
Yeah.
He came at like 10:30. I was like, I don't know, man. Take him downstairs to, you know, Red Grant show that was happening. And obviously Red Grant was huge at the time. And so he goes down there and watches Red's show. And then before we start battling, I go down to grab Drake, and then it's him and his security. They're all in the bathroom. And Drake's speaking like French, like Canadian French the whole time. I was like, this is crazy. I was like, hey, man, we're going to start in a little bit if you want to come up. And then he stopped speaking French and started speaking like Drake, you know, TV Drake. And then I'm like, bet. And then the show ended downstairs early for some weird reason. And then because that happened, they had to get Drake out of there because they didn't want him being, you know, ambushed. But Drake had called to be at the roast battle and then never got to see it.
Man. All because we had to go at midnight.
That would have popped us off. We'd be like the Migos right now. You know, we'd be huge right now. We'd be wearing, you know, all kinds of crazy Cartier glasses.
Yeah,
we wouldn't be here right now. We'd be in arenas, you know, with Drake.
Right.
Anyway, we're going to cut this out, right?
No.
Okay.
Let's get into the last division, the International East Division. And we're going to watch a battle from Australia. So I hope you have an equally good anecdote about Steve Irwin to follow this battle.
Oh, I do.
Fantastic. This comes to us from Australia, which to me is the biggest question mark in the entire RBL. And we'll talk about it a little bit when we get into the division coverage. This is a battle they had recently featuring Rain Howlett versus Liz Elliott. Let's check it out.
Let's ready! Yeah! Body! Battle! 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 Let's go! Let's go! Rain Howlett, let's roll!
Rand's an actor and has been in many plays, including his one-man show called Museum of Lost Things, which is also what casting directors call Rand's acting career.
Thank you for the bio. Liz is a 22-year-old virgin who lives on her mum's couch. We're all fucking hoping it goes well for you. You need it.
Thank you, poster boy for porn addiction. Rand looks like Neo from The Matrix if he took the blue pill, but for his erectile dysfunction.
Emotional damage!
Thank you, Steve Jobless. We met before this to chat about each other and learn things about each other to make this roasting accurate, and Liz was really hesitant to head into a venue by herself, which makes sense to anyone who's seen her comedy, because Liz walking into a venue alone is an active bomb threat.
Rand applied to law school, but instead chose acting, where as his major performance, he wore nothing but gold dust. Here's something Rand's parents would never have said after seeing that performance. Rand, just keep doing what you're doing.
Liz has high-functioning autism, which makes me question the definition of high-functioning.
There it is.
Yes, Rand, I'm on the spectrum, but Rand also got diagnosed only to find out that he's actually a really bad actor. Why don't you just try acting funny for once?
I used to call myself, this is a side, I used to call myself a trisexual because I gave everything a go, and then I met Liz. Now, my actual roast. Liz used to draw pictures of a boy she liked from her class and would take them away and kiss these pictures. So on other things that have been drawn that will never happen. Dear Liz, I'm so proud of the woman you've become. I miss you, I love you, see you soon. From Dad.
Emotional damage.
I deserve all the validation I can get here, you know? But, thank you, Wankenstein.
I know, right?
Rand's dad's dead. In the past, Rand got expelled and got into fights all the time and had to change schools, all while having this special interest in drama. Who knew lung cancer was the only breathtaking thing in his father's life?
Yes! My dad may be dead, and I wish he was alive. But I'd much rather than have your dad who's alive and wishes you were dead.
Emotional damage.
Get up, Look, I chose this battle because I feel like it is the perfect microcosm of Australia in general.
Okay.
Or at least their roast battle scene, which is, I don't know from joke to joke what to expect. With Australia last season, I didn't know from week to week what to expect. As a recap on Australia and some insight into some behind the scenes stuff from this offseason, and I'm about to tell you something that might make me look like a bad commissioner, but I'm gonna say it.
Ooh.
Australia last season was the #1 international seed for about 10 weeks. Their first 10 weeks, they sent us some outstanding stuff. They were the first city in the entire league to have back-to-back #1s. They were absolutely killing it. And then they did not, for the entire second half of the season, 17 weeks, they didn't have a single battle rank. And part of the reason was they took 3 months off. They're like, yeah, we can't sell tickets in the middle of summer.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, but we're running a league here. Can you imagine if like the Lakers were like, yeah, we're not going to play basketball from January through March? Like, okay, good luck making the playoffs. That's going to make it really, really tough. So Seizure Kaiser, the guy who runs Roast Battle Australia, I talked to him during the offseason and I said, hey, what's up? How can we correct this for next offseason? And he said, well, we want to start running shows in Melbourne as well as Sydney.
Let's go.
And I said, of course, yeah. And then he had a third city. He's like, I think we can actually run shows in, I believe it's Adelaide.
Okay.
And I said, yeah, of course. And then I looked at a map and I realized that I was giving him basically the authority to run shows like hundreds and hundreds of miles apart. It would be the equivalent of if I told London, yeah, you can also engulf Roast Battle Scotland and Manchester and Barcelona and everything like that. You know what I mean? So I am giving him a huge advantage.
Wow.
I'm giving him an entire continent.
You really are.
And after I did it, I was kind of like, oh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's my first real misfire as commissioner. But I'm desperate to see what Australia running at its peak kind of looks like. Because I saw it for a few weeks and it was so good. And then they took 3 months off and they have all these battles online. And I watched 8 of them to pick one for this podcast. And I don't know how else to say this. They're not good.
Oh.
They're not good. And I don't know what happened because they were so good and then they took time off and the new stuff, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it because I want to be very clear. This is a make or break season for Australia. They have to prove some shit.
It's like Premier League shit.
I think, yeah, absolutely. We have too many
Champions League,
we have too many hungry cities who want to get in this thing to, keep going with Australia if they're not going to step their game up. I think they can. especially if they're running shows in all these other cities. I'm giving them a big advantage. I want to see if they can step up because right now it's not hitting for me, but I think it could be great. Does that make sense?
Australia, we're putting you on right now. We want you guys. I mean, it's a whole continent of talent. You guys have, Will Anderson, Jim Jeffries, Eddie If goes down there. I guess that's it. But, there's a lot of guys you have. Rose Matafeo, she's from New Zealand. I remember her. She's a monster. Reese Nicholson, he's another monster from that region. You guys have the talent. We just need you guys to step up and get into this thing because I would hate to lose Australia. I want to go down there and visit, obviously, and I want to see what the talent's like down there.
Same.
You guys have awesome festivals. Your taxing of Americans is insane when we get down there, but outside of all that, it's a hell of a country, a hell of a continent. And we want to get down there and fuck with you guys.
Yeah, and their talent even on a roast battle level, like obviously Jim Jeffries, of course, sure. Yeah. But the tournament final they had last year between Kirsty Carr and Jack Jones was one of the best battles we featured the entire season. There was another one, Alan Fang versus Sath Nadison, which was another outstanding battle. They have the talent there. I just don't know if they are not. What we've seen in so many other cities is their inclusion in the Roast Battle League and the potential benefits from that has really invigorated the scenes and has made the best people want to step up and do it more. And I'm feeling that excitement heading into the new season.
Okay.
I don't know if that's made it all the way across all the ponds to get to Australia. And I hope that it does because I know what they're capable of. But right now, to me, they're the biggest what if in the entire thing.
You're putting Manchester over Australia.
No.
Okay.
No. When I made these odds, I put all of the expansion cities last.
Okay.
Just because I feel like you have to do that in terms of where the smart money ranks. But I didn't know how to rank Australia. I thought if you take Australia at their peak, I think they can win this thing easily.
Really? Over London?
I do.
Damn.
Those two Australia battles I just referenced, to me, were better than anything I saw out of London the entire season.
Whoa.
But London was really consistent. Every week, London was, all right, we're number 3. All right, we're number 4. All right, we're number 2. They were really, really consistent, and I think that's the key, and that's why they're minus 150. That's why they have the strongest odds of anybody to win a division, because they are so consistent. I talked to Callum Ross, who runs Roast Battle London. I said a couple weeks ago they're going to monthly. He has a new venue that they're confident by the end of April they'll be back to weekly.
Okay.
That was all I needed to hear to be like, these guys they're the clear-cut favorites at this point.
They have stars. They got Shalaka. They got the last season's MVP in Shalaka. They got Duffy out there. They've got Lee Hudson. I mean, they've got some like stars. That top 5 or that top 3 I just listed, I would probably take anywhere and probably beat anybody.
I agree with that. Tokyo made a really nice run towards the end of last season and finished 3rd in the international division, so I want to give them the proper respect at the number 2 seed there.
Jay Yamaki.
Jay Yamaki. And Louis Troy, who I battled out there, their former champ. He's great. They have a lot of really exciting talent out there, and I'm curious to see what they do this season. But to me, right now, if I'm a gambling man, my money goes on London.
Yeah, easy. Like, what are we talking about here? Manchester, they're the rookies, in this league, in that division. So I don't expect too much out of them, but hopefully anything we do get is going to be cake. Australia, we just saw that, and if that's the best that we're picking out of the 8 battles you saw, that's going to be a long, long, long climb for those guys.
Yeah.
Tokyo, right? They're hit and miss every week. And then London, obviously, they have superstars with Shalaka and the guys already listed with Duffy, Lee, and the list goes on.
The online voting was pretty clear. They think Los Angeles, Scotland, and London returning playoff cities, and they actually had Chicago edging out New York for that American
They like
East
that audio. They like
spot.
that video.
The battles are good too.
They are. Really
Let's not
good.
do that.
You're right.
Let's
You're right.
not do that.
Listen, I would never disrespect Chicago. They're the best.
Right.
I mean, honestly, those guys they've got a lot of guys you can name actually, with the Titos and the Gabriels and the Mizitanos and the Gricos, and the list goes on. Eric Stevens, right?
Eric Emerson.
Emerson, Two Bike Stevens online.
Yeah,
Sorry
Katie
about that.
Kincaid, Brandon Kiefer. I mean, they have star power out there for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And the battle we watched last week between Harry Breitner and I'm blanking on his name right now, but
Dave, I think.
Yeah, David Donick. That was
Yeah.
a really, really good one as well. They have maybe some up and coming talent. They are the ones that online people expect to take the East. I'm not making any predictions. It wouldn't be professional as the commissioner.
Who'd they say in the West?
They went with Los Angeles.
Okay.
It's funny if you poll a seasoned Roast Battle League audience, they all seem to think it's going to be Los Angeles. But boy, you read the comments on any Belly Room video we've posted over the last few months. There are no funny comedians in Los Angeles. Everybody moved to Austin. LA is dead. In one world, we're the clear-cut favorites, and in another, I feel like LA is massive underdogs.
We're vulnerable.
Yeah.
I mean, here in Los Angeles, we are very vulnerable. So, that West that's a death pool, man.
And I think what it comes down to is LA has to feel vulnerable. LA has to go. We saw what happened in the California Cup where they didn't feel vulnerable. They felt like, okay, wake me up when this gets competitive. And then they got taken out.
Yeah.
So I think LA needs to go into the season with a sense of urgency. They have to establish that they're the defending champions. But how often do we see in sports the defending champions come out and struggle the next season because of that hangover a little bit,
Right. Let's be the Chiefs. You know? Like maybe we put a target on our backs and then we come back, We'll see what happens.
It's going to be really interesting. I'm looking forward to it. We have one more podcast episode previewing the season, and then finally we will launch into it. I am so excited. Follow me on Instagram at RBL Commish. Follow at Roast Battle. Anything else before we get out of here?
Let's roast!